I will speak into the mic now, but not when I eat, because that's kind of gross. No, I'm nervous. I don't want to spit too loud into the mic. That's really gross. Okay, well, I call this meeting to order at 3:04 p.m. on November 28th, last council of the semester. Thank you all for being here. Super exciting. Huge milestone for us today. We're killing it. Live, laugh, love. Yeah. All right. Oh, man. Sorry, my document has moved from where it usually is, and I'm doing nervous. Sorry, we're going to do some roll call. All right. Yes, roll call. Art student representative. All right. Board of Governors student representative, Anna. Board of Governors student representative, Drew. Awesome. Education student representative. Equity student representative. Indigenous student representative, Molly. Indigenous student representative, Sierra. International student representative, Atik is absent with regrets. Science student representative, business student representative, and first year representative. Awesome. President, vice president academic, vice president finance and operations, vice president's residence affairs, vice president's activities and events, vice president external affairs. Deputy chair of council, and students union general manager. Our faculty advisor is running a bit late today. Hopefully we get to see him, but he's getting some repairs done on his house, so who knows. All right. Let me just scroll down. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship, which Mi'kmaq and Wolastoqey people first signed with the British Crown in 1725. The treaties did not deal with the surrender of lands and resources, but in fact recognized Mi'kmaq and Wolastoqey people title and established the rules for what was to be an ongoing relationship between nations. All right. Yes, thank you once again, everybody, for being here today. I don't have a lot to say other than we have a guest coming in at 3:30. Don't feel the need to rush. I thought it would just be good to have her here earlier rather than later. But Sandy Iverson will be joining us to give us a little library reno presentation. And we also have our wonderful guest, Nick Murray, in the building.
Happy to be here.
All right. We're going to move into approval of the agenda. If I could get a motion, please. Oh. Okay, perfect. That'll do. Is there any discussion at this time?
I just have one thing.
Yes.
I was wondering how to go about it, like if I could ask for like a friendly amendment to add a presentation from you, me, and Jad, just about the advocacy document.
Yes, of course. The chair would look upon a friendly amendment to the agenda to include a presentation from the SNS board members. If someone would like to motion to make that friendly amendment. All right. Thanks, Anna. I don't think we need a second on that, but is there any discussion on that friendly amendment? No, that is awesome. All right. We are going to call the question. Would somebody like to call the question? Thank you, Drew. All right, and then we're going to move into voting. So all those in favor, please raise your hands. All right, all those opposed? And all those who would like to abstain. All right, thank you very much, folks. The motion passes unanimously, and that includes the friendly amendment to the Special Reports Council section. Boop, 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 boop. I just drew a squiggle. All right, now moving into the approval of the November 14th council meeting minutes. If someone would like to make a motion to approve the minutes. Awesome, thank you, Josh. Can we get a second, please? Drew? All right, any discussion at this time? Nope, okay, would someone like to call the question? Thank you, Mackenzie. All right. All those in favor, please raise your hands now. Thank you very much. All those who would like to oppose? All those who would like to abstain? All right, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you, folks. One quick mention, you guys are getting placards soon. I forgot to mention that. They're just being printed. So we'll have those for next semester. They're very cute. All right. We're going to move into constituency reports. I'm just going to hand this down to Anna. And then we'll just kind of go down the line instead of following who's doing what instead.
Hi everyone. Not too much on my end. I continue to meet weekly with the Emergency Grants Committee, and the Governance Review Committee has not met for, I think, 3 weeks now. Unsure if we're going to meet for the rest of the term. And then for Board of Governors meetings, nothing new to report. However, I attended my first Joint Committee on Studies. We revised the academic integrity policy and procedure and the physical education teacher program. And that's pretty much it on my end. Any questions?
Any discussion for Anna at this time?
All right. Well, hello everyone. On my end, we had like equity committee meeting, and then we had it like updated what is going on. And also for other than that, I had like a interview with the St. FX AUT, like for international students and what is missing and what is like not going well for them, both like social, financial, like around the campus, also within the community. So I think that's going to be published, hopefully, so it will be better for everyone to it will be like a voice for the international students. Other than that, that's all. Any questions? No.
Okay, so hi everyone. I have nothing really new to report other than just the Dean of Science Search Committee. We had a shortlist meeting on November 25th to discuss what sort of candidates and what we want to see from them, as well as what we can expect through the interview process. For the Equity Committee, we met on November 23rd, and we just discussed any updates on the online discrimination reporting system, as well as possible avenues for students to take when it comes to like equity issues on campus. Otherwise, that's about it. And if there's any questions, you can ask them now.
Awesome. Thank you, Tiffany. Molly, you have the floor.
Hi everyone. So I participated in an anti-Asian racism panel. That was a really amazing experience. I also got to participate in the Being Xaverian campaign too, so that was fun. I got to do that today. And then I'm also working on a book club with the library focusing on Indigenous authors next semester. So yeah, if anyone wants to participate, that'd be fun too.
Hi everybody. This week I attended my first equity meeting on the 23rd. We talked about resources that we can contact for any equity related things, and yeah, I have nothing new to report.
Awesome. Thank you. Any discussion or questions at this time? Sorry. No? Awesome. Hunter, you have the floor.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. It was a pretty fun reporting period. We reviewed 10 applications from emergency grants, and for quality of life, I co-facilitated Senate's Quality of Life Forum, where we got to get staff and faculty perspective on our framework. And other than that, polar dipped for Movember and participated in Santa FX's Being Xaverian campaign as well. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Hunter. Any questions at this time? No? All right. Drew, you have the floor.
Well, hello, everybody. I first of all want to say all the best for your final exams. I don't think we're going to all meet together at the same time here. On the other hand, regarding to my business, to my position, there hasn't been happening a lot, but I've been spending quite a bit of time for studying, research, and like making plans for the upcoming semester, meeting with Son and figuring out what to do forward. So that's one thing. On the other hand, for my other business, I attended the O Crew banquet. So thank you so much, the whole O Crew, and one of the moms is here. So do you want to clap for it? Like, it's their first last time? Yeah. It was a really good one. Food was good, great, good fun. And Movember is about to end. So if you guys are still about to donate to Sean's, like, he should get a tattoo. What do you think, Jack? So if you guys want to donate a little bit, yeah. So please donate to Sean Ryan's Movember page and spread awareness about men's mental health and testicular cancer and prostate cancer. Thank you. Oh, do you guys have any questions? I'm sorry. Oh yeah. We're gonna replicate it.
Hello, everyone. I hope you guys all have a great new year. And if I don't see you until then, I have nothing to report as counselor. And in terms of my position on Senate, I sat in the Faculty of Science Committee on Studies, and we have been discussing a new program outline for Earth Sciences. So that's going to be a little bit of work on their end, but looking forward to seeing it go through Senate, hopefully next semester. And yeah, that's it. Any questions?
Hi, everybody. It's been a pretty chill reporting period. As for the Quality of Life Committee, they had a presentation to Senate on November 25th, and Hunter, Meredith, and I got to do some facilitating of conversations and stuff with some of the faculty about student mental health and experiential learning and like first year experience and stuff. So that went really well, I think. Aside from that, Gov Review again didn't meet, but hopefully we'll get to maybe before the semester's out, but who knows? And Joint Committee on Studies had a meeting, but I wasn't able to attend because I had class. Yeah. Other than that, I attended the Oak Crew dinner, and I went to the holiday event last night. So, good time. Awesome.
All right. Hi, everyone. I hope everybody's doing good and staying healthy and happy as the semester here wraps up. We're just entering December in a couple of days here, so that's exciting. For my report here, I don't have too much to touch on. As I've had in the last couple reports there, my office hours have moved to an online version through Zoom because education students are now out in their practicums in schools, so they're not regularly here on campus anymore. With that said, I've been keeping very busy with that, but making sure I'm on top of my committee work. The Outstanding Teaching Award Committee has been discussing their candidates for this year. And the Library Strategic Planning Committee, as mentioned in the council agenda here, Sandy will be coming in and going over our proposals for library renovations, which is super exciting. I acknowledge that it is much needed, so that'll be great to see what they have in plan and hearing what we all have to say about some of the proposals there. Senate Forum on Student Life was a couple days ago, and I sadly had to miss it because of Parent-Teacher Day at school, but I heard great things, and no other business to report, so thank you. If there are any questions, I'll take them now.
Super. So I've attended 3 House Hockey Committee meetings since November 5th until November 26th. Progress is being made in key areas. One of the big first-year concerns was that there might not be enough positions for first years to actually play in house hockey. That was something that the committee talked about and that we have been working to resolve in some degree. I met with a consultation group with being a first-year rep. I'm trying to create a first-year consultation group of about 20 members so that we can come together and I can understand a little bit more of what they want to do. And I can express any ideas that I have with them and I can hear really good feedback. One of the things that we just met about and talked about was more of an Olympic method focused on steering the boat and using existing networks that we already have. And things will look pretty good in that regard. We hope to reach out to Sodexo and different things so that people can watch different sports and cheer on whichever country or team that they enjoy. So with that too, the consultation group, I'm trying to meet bi-weekly with that group. So that's there's some work being done there. With other business, I participated in the Movember Polar Dip. I did that by myself. I accidentally did miss the bus on the way to Mahoney's. So I got a friend to drive me out, and we did a quick dip and back out. So that was quite fun. And I attended the chaplain's prayer breakfast yesterday morning. That was a good time. It was good to see lots of friends and members of the chaplaincy there. And secondly, I came to the Christmas party last night, and I thank everyone for the fun that we had. That was really good. Really good to get to know a little more people involved in the SU. That's right.
Awesome. All right, we're going to move into exec reports if nobody has any questions for Josh at this time. All right, thank you very much. So, you have the floor.
Hi, everybody. It's good to see everybody. Most of the stuff's in my report. However, I did want to highlight a couple things that happened after I wrote the report with two of the aspects of my portfolio. So the first would be house hockey. So we had a committee meeting on Friday, and we'll be reaching out to our coaching applicants to let them know that as of now, only students who are living in residence will be able to participate on house hockey teams. However, we are looking to try to make sure that we have all the teams we can participating. So we'll be looking at trying to negotiate a certain number of up-year students to ensure that all the houses end up having a team, because we know that might be a limitation on numbers. As well, with residence renewal, we had some consultation sessions this week with the consultants from outside of the university on the residence renewal proposals, and it's come to our attention that some decisions may have been made before the consultation sessions that we wanted to delve into with the committee. So Jack, Mayor, and I will be sitting with Elizabeth hopefully tomorrow during our regularly scheduled meeting to discuss some of the decisions that they look to make and how they affect the SU, and looking at different proposals we might be able to put forward for them. Other than that, everything's in my report. I've been meeting with my SUCLs bi-weekly, and I attended Oak Crew Appreciation Dinner, the holiday party, and the Movember Polar Dip as well. So it was a great reporting period. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Hello. Same as usual, some ongoing meetings, things like that. My main thing right now is X-Ring and Super Sub. This year we're doing a mini sub as well on Parents' Night, which is a first, so we're opening up the cafe to accommodate more people. We're looking at Pride Week in January? Sorry, all my months are blending, yeah. Pride Month, sorry. And so we're looking at starting events for that one, getting some bookings in. I'm also looking at Frost Week right now, so getting some things going there. I had a COCA mid-year recharge conference last week, which was online. Only attended a few things because I'm in practicum right now, but helped kind of set that conference up as well with COCA. Equity Committee met, and Tiff and Sierra kind of covered what we had discussed. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to another COCA conference or a COCA board meeting in January, so also just prepping on that one. But yeah, and the Oak Crew banquet, which was amazing. That's all right now. Yeah.
So, for the mini super sub, like, anyone detail on that?
Yeah. So for Parents' Night?
Yes, because my parents are very excited.
Sure, yeah. So doors open at 7 p.m. The entrance is through first floor subs, so like the big parking lot downstairs. You'll go in. It's $10 cover per head. That includes coat check and like access into both of those rooms. You go up the stairs. You can either go into the Bloomfield Cafe. There's some food going on in there, so if people are seated, some conference service members will walk over and offer some like appetizer plates. There's hot and cold plates. So there's food that way. There's also going to be a bar in there and a DJ. And then people can line up to go into the inn. Once the inn's at capacity, we have to stay at capacity. So then like a line would form essentially. But likely you'll get into the inn 100%. And yeah, that's that.
I'm really excited. Thank you for all your
Should be cool.
Tiana has a question.
Yeah, I just have a question. Is that information going to be posted somewhere or already has been posted and I don't know where that is, just so I could share that with my constituents?
Definitely. I think that a bit of both. I think majority of the info has been posted just on the IN's Instagram, I believe, right? But we'll make sure that's up more as well throughout the week just so people know. Yeah, no problem. And of course, if people are visiting, proof of vax also required at the door. But yeah.
At the last Senate meeting, Tiana and I presented about OERs, and Tiana killed it. Everybody was super engaged, and there was some pretty good discussion. So I'm kind of in the midst of moving forward, kind of taking some actions from that, which I will hopefully have updates for soon. Huge thing, Reese is officially approved, so woo, yeah. So that's officially going forward, and I had a meeting with Heather and then a bunch of the union heads last week. So it was like the head of the teachers union and the head of the custodial services union, which was kind of interesting, and they brought up like a couple of concerns about like kind of how to communicate the platform, that sort of thing. But Heather addressed them all, and everybody's super on board and excited for it, which is really great. On Wednesday, we had the Senate Forum on Student Life, and Hunter and Margaret and I all facilitated a little bit. So we were talking with faculty and admin that sit on Senate about various aspects of the student life strategic plan and what they think about it. The Committee on Honorary Degrees met, and I thought it was kind of interesting because I didn't really know even what an honorary degree was. It's different than an honorary X-ring, and a big part of the conversation that we had was how to make honorary degrees more relevant to students, which is, I don't know, just kind of interesting. And then a bunch of committee meetings. The details are in my report, so yeah. Okay, so apparently it's like the highest honor St. FX University can bestow upon another individual. So typically it's like someone, sometimes in the St. FX community or just sometimes just like a person at large who's done a lot, either in the academic world or like community service wise. And it's just like if St. FX as an institution wants to like recognize this person as like you have been doing really good things, they'll give them an honorary degree. Like, yeah. 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 Yeah.
I actually did not know that.
I didn't know that either. Yeah. 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 It's, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks. And I think who got it? Dr. Strang got it last year. Honorary degree from, yeah, so legend. Hello, everybody. So, yeah, the last 2 weeks, very busy. Honestly, the majority of our time is spent in Halifax, away from Antigonish, with Ben and Naomi for the Students of Nova Scotia Advocacy Week, which we're going to be talking about in a little bit. We did miss the flood, so I hope all of your houses are okay, and I hope you all survived that all right. It looked crazy. So yeah, other than that, some meetings I was in, specifically one around X-Ring was about advocating to allow students to go back into the building in which they spent their first year in. We ended up getting that kind of approved after some back and forth, so students will be able to go back into their residence building, which is super exciting to bring back that tradition as it wasn't able to happen last year because of COVID. Beyond that, residence renewal consultation started this week. So I've already kind of touched on it a little bit, but we will be meeting with Elizabeth tomorrow to kind of talk about kind of what, I guess, the consultation and the models they've kind of put forth, how it'll affect the students' union, specifically like the house councils, because it looks like that will be changing, and with like Soph's job, so that'll be interesting trying to figure that out. And then beyond that, participated in the Movember Polar Dip, of course. shout out Sean Ryan's page. We're at $4,070. We have 930 to go. Quick math. In 2 days. So yeah, if you haven't reached out to your parents yet for a donation, feel free to do so. And yeah, it was really just a lot of static meetings the week prior, and preparing for Advocacy Week, which went smashingly well. But that is about all for me. Yes.
Would Sean Ryan's tattoo be on his chest as well, or does he get to choose where it goes? Sean Ryan gets to choose where it goes.
There you go.
Any other questions at this time?
I said his forehead, but whatever. Joking. Yes, Anna. So basically they've brought in two external consultants to perform the consultation. They're consulting a various number of groups. Specifically, the one I was in was with Sophia, and it was the Residence Renewal Advisory Team. So that's kind of like the team that was put together in the summer. And we've been kind of meeting throughout it. There are a lot of subcommittees that do most of the work, and we're kind of just like the board that gets like reported to. But beyond that, I know there was one with Meredith and some of the SUCLs in some of the buildings, and they're also consulting with Res Life staff, Soph.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure who else.
Yeah, they gave us a couple groups, but they only had a couple days to do the consultation.
Yeah.
They had a less, they didn't have as much time to consult with as many groups as we had kind of put out there. But they did consult with various key stakeholders, I guess, in the residence experience.
Yeah, we really wanted them to consult, specifically like upper years as well, because we know like the experience that students have had in the buildings last year and this year are very different than what they were before COVID as well. But I don't think they ended up agreeing to doing that just because of the limited time that they were here to perform the consultation. So, yeah. You're welcome.
Any more questions at this time? Sorry, I'm coming.
Drew. Yeah. Yeah. I'll pass that question to Brendan or Sean, because I wasn't actually in the meetings that day. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. Thank you. What's up, everybody? Good to be back in the niche. It was nice. Like, we just got back on Friday, but a week ago today we were arriving in Halley for Advo Week, which was awesome. So I'll take you folks through a little bit of what's been going on for me the past couple weeks. And to be fully honest with you, it is largely centered around Advocacy Week. So as the chair of Students Nova Scotia this year, I had a large part in actually preparing the advocacy document. So it was mostly myself and Lydia, like our executive director. So I'm not really a math type, but our ass ended up totaling around like probably approximately like $17 million from the government. So like I was doing a lot of stuff, getting the background facts like for a lot of our different recommendations on the 7. So that was kind of the first week, like really putting that together. And then Advocacy Week last week took up kind of the breadth of our time. We were going hard every day, different meetings with stakeholders, community partners, and a lot of the ministers we got to meet with. So that was fantastic. And we've also got some follow-up meetings. It was kind of like we gained some momentum throughout the week, and a lot more ministers reached out and were like, hey, we really want to meet with you folks. Like, let's get this going. So we've got some big meetings with the NDP caucus coming up this week. Michelle Thompson, who's actually our MLA here, and also the Minister of Health and Wellness. So that's going to be awesome because we just missed her while we were in Halley. But yeah, for the most part, all the meetings I kind of specified throughout my exec report. So if you folks want to give those a look, we can get those going. But other than that, the only other thing that was really going on was Santa Fe's Town and County meeting, which is the meeting that goes down between like our university admin, a couple SU representatives, like Landlords Association, bylaws, and also RCMP. So it's kind of like to talk about like how things are like looking in the town and county and like just going off of that. So they wanted some feedback on like the good neighbor strategy, which was like the thing that they passed out like to like most of the off-campus houses on just basically how, like the good neighbors guide and like how to be a good neighbor in the community. And for the most part, I just gave them some feedback on trying to make it a bit more relevant to the student experience and like actually like consulting with students on whether or not they found the document helpful. So I'm going to be working with them over the next couple weeks to release a survey for students and basically just get some feedback on whether that was actually recognized by students or actually helpful. And for the most part, that was kind of it. Just a lot of meetings going down with different stakeholders. So if there's any questions, feel free. But we'll kind of fly into a bigger breakdown of this in a second. So yeah, thanks. Good to see y'all again.
Hello, everyone. This has been kind of a busy past 2 weeks. So most of everything's in my report, but I'll just highlight a few things. As of right now, the convenience store is finally officially open. So that's been a few months in the going. So that is, it's very exciting. Sean, Julianne, myself, and the whole team are really excited. And then hopefully moving into the second semester, we'll be able to, currently have a few things on back order and stuff just because COVID's obviously impacted all of everything. So hopefully in the second semester, things will be fully ready to go operational. Following us opening, Sean, myself, and Callie Beaton, the Kevin's Corner Food Resource Center coordinator, met just to review a timeline of when we're going to be moving the Food Resource Center from the basement of MK back into the sub, rather. So just kind of in the back half of where the old PharmaSave was. And then following that, so that's going to happen by December 12th, and it'll reopen in the new space on December 13th, which is a Monday. So that'll give us some time, a couple weeks just to work through any setbacks that come with us being in a new space. And then come second semester, we'll officially be done phase 1 of the Bloomfield renovation. And then we'll be able to, yes. And come next year, next summer, we will hopefully be able to move into the actual Golden Exit and renovation part, which will, yes, be very exciting. What else? Also second semester, just in terms of your Drive U, we're going to be moving Drive U where it's actually located to the Bloomfield parking lot instead of down by security, just because with us moving the Food Resource Center, it just makes sense to move all of our services more nearby. Health and dental plan, kind of already mentioned by Jack and answered kind of a couple questions already about that, but as I mentioned, Corey and MC came down for the day, and we were able to make a lot of good progress just in terms of some of the different services that we could add onto our plan, and it also gave Sean, Julie, and myself and just some time to chat about where we want the health plan to go moving forward. We made 2 budget reallocations from Campus Affairs budget line last Sunday. So the first one was from Campus Affairs. We moved $6,000 to Kira's Frost Week budget, which is very exciting. And the purpose behind that was just that we want this year's Frost Week, just because there wasn't one last year, to be a bit more above and beyond the typical. And then the second allocation, or reallocation rather, was from Campus Affairs to the Emergency Grants Committee, and the reason for that being that last Emergency Grants meeting we capped out at our $15,000 budgeted amount. So this gives us just a bit of extra money to distribute, especially with the flood that just happened. And then in terms of Recircle, we've had a meeting, myself, Sean, Adam Starr, and Tom, our legal counsel. And Tom really just went into a bit more detail with Adam, just about the reasoning behind why we can't really enter a full legal agreement with Recircle at this time, but that there are possibilities and ways for us to still be involved and support Recircle, just not in the way that we were originally thinking. I think that's just about it. Does anyone have any questions? No? Awesome. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Brendan. We're just going to pass it down to Sean for the Student Union General Manager report, and then we'll move into special reports from council.
All right, I'll make this pretty quick. Yeah, I mentioned a couple times the splash for the Stash Movember Polar Bear Dip was our best turnout in the 8 years I've been doing it, so thanks everyone. Sorry, Josh, that you missed the bus. Makes my heart sad, but we'll get you in there next year, buddy. Yeah, just not to belabor, the convenience store is open now. There are suggestion cards down there, so if you are bopping around and you think, hey, it'd be great if the store brought in this product, or wow, this is expensive for that, just make sure you fill out those comment cards just to help us sort of make the service better. One thing Brendan didn't update on, but maybe it's in his report, so we are working very hard towards having DCB available in January. We are waiting on some of the swipey technology stuff to get here. It's on back order, but that is hopefully going to be a thing. That's the #1 question we get down there. One other person that does need a huge shout out of thanks is Selena, our student story manager. She's absolutely killing it, and has really brought a lot of great knowledge to the opening and to the support of the staff down there. So thank you to her. Yeah, Brendan already talked about moving that. Mid-year reports. So we will be compiling a little questionnaire kind of mid-year report thing that will be sent out to all y'all probably mid next week, late next week, to just fill out. This is important that you fill these out and answer the questions as thoroughly as you can. All of the reports get read by the executive and myself, depending on what the questions are that are being asked. And this will, included in the email that you'll get with the link on how to go fill out this form, will be information on how you'll get and when you'll get your first semester honorarium. So please be looking out for that email. Still looking, hopefully, to have a couple of societies help us out with coat check on both Parent Super Sub Night and X-Ring. We're looking for societies that can, for Parents Night, at least bring out 10 to 15 people. For X-Ring, if we could have 2 societies that could each bring 10 people. We really need to have a lot of bodies on those 2 coat checks, just because everyone comes at a different time, but they all want to leave at the same time. There will be donations made to those societies. I can't tell you exactly how much, but like 1 year for X-Ring, each society that helped us got $800 in donations, or like a thank you. because we include the coat check in the cost of the tickets. So if we sell 1,600 tickets, we can give 2 societies $800 each. So Parents' Night, I'm not quite sure what it'll be because we've never done this before, so we'll see. But yeah, if you are a part of a society or know of a society that has some big plans for next semester and they could use a good bunch of cash, make sure you hit me up sooner than later, just because I'm not panicking, but I'm getting close. Yeah. Yes. Whoever gets me first, email, but you got to guarantee the people, because we've had societies do that before and then 4 people show up and then it's an absolute disaster. So I need numbers. So yeah, but that's open. Yeah. Next thing, just thanks. We did it. It was mentioned already, but we had the Okru banquet. Thanks to everyone in here and beyond that were part of Okru this year. It was an amazing year. A lot of great folks and a lot of fun that night. So that's it for me. I'll take any other questions. Also, if I don't hit my donation goal, Jack has to wax his chest. So keep that in mind. Yep. Okay. Just so everyone has all the information, Jack. Yeah. Uh-huh. That's it.
Not the whole thing.
Man-o lantern.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for that. Now we're going to have our guest presentation from Sandy Iverson. It's a library renovation presentation. I'm guessing you... Yeah, I'm guessing you...
Is the camera okay right there?
Yeah, I'll make sure to upload this after if you send me a copy. I'm guessing you probably need the microphone.
Yes, you just need to talk into the.
It's just so that the people on the live stream can hear you well.
Sure.
Thank you so much for being patient again. Sorry that I ran a little bit long.
No,
but
no
we're really
worries.
excited to have you.
We're just waiting. Now we just wait for the projector to work.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw light beeping. It should be just a sec there.
Awesome. All right.
Hi. I'm supposed to use this thing. Thanks for letting me come and talk to you. Contrary to the short introduction, I'm unfortunately not here to talk about library renovations. However, I am here to talk about our strategic plan, which maybe one day, when you're all old and gray, will actually lead to library renovations, but we will try to do some stuff in the meantime. I don't know how many of you have met me before, but I'm still relatively new to St. FX. I've been here for 2 years. I'm the university librarian, as you know. And prior to that, I have worked in a wide variety of libraries in my life. And I have background, obviously, in library science, but also in adult education and in international development. So just a little bit about me. So I'm just going to tell you a little, kind of give you a perspective of where I'm coming from in terms of what libraries are and what university libraries are. So in my opinion, Universities themselves are basically spaces where people engage with ideas and information and other people in order to create new knowledge, right? That's what you do. You come here, you read stuff, you look at stuff, you talk to people, you write stuff, you make stuff, and you learn stuff, right? And that's also what faculty do. They engage with information, they engage with each other, and they create new information, new knowledge. So libraries are actually the sites of that, right? And they have predated universities by 1,200 years. So in essence, you could have a university that was nothing but a library. It's a place that provides access to information and ideas and spaces for people to come together to engage with those ideas and create new knowledge. That's what I see as the library as core to the university's mission, core to the academic and social life of the university. We keep being told that knowledge is constructed socially, right? Well, how do you do that if you don't have spaces in which to interact with knowledge in a social way? And that's the role of the library. Okay. Lesson over. So what I want to do now is walk you through a little bit of where we think we're going with our strategic plan and provide you with an opportunity to give me a little bit of feedback or ask me any questions, either about the plan or about anything else about the library or anything else that you think I might know the answer to, but probably don't. All right. So this is just, it gives you an idea of the consultations that we have had so far. So this process started back in the spring. We had a number of consultations starting in April. We had online consultations with faculty. I was online with you guys in July. We had open consultations with both faculty and students in September. We had an open house where people were also invited to engage with the strat plan, et cetera, et cetera. So we have had a number of different ways that people have been able to interact with us, look at our documentation, look at some of the other things that we're doing, and give us feedback. One of the most common ways, and maybe you saw this around campus a little bit, was we created this thing called what we call a .democracy board. So through our research, we came up with a list of 15 services that are commonly found in academic libraries, many of which we already have, but some of which we don't. And we asked people, which ones of these would you prioritize? We gave them 5 dots. We said, put your 5 dots wherever you want in order to prioritize these services. Mostly it was students who engaged in this, and we had about 200 people engage with this. This is more or less the result, and you'll see that the red line is students and the yellow line is faculty and staff. So the number one thing that you all ask for, of course, is a cafe in the library. Can't guarantee you're going to get that anytime soon, but what we are going to try to do is create a little bit of a self-service area in the library with a microwave and a hot and cold water dispenser, so that at least you can make a cup of tea or instant coffee or something. That's the best I can do in the short term. An actual full-on cafe is more of a long-term thing, but I'm all for it. So next, of course, is study halls, private study rooms. So you'll see that the top 3 things that students are asking for have to do with our physical space, right? And the environment in which they get to study. I don't think they want a cafe there because they want to go there to have lunch. I think they want a cafe there because they're studying and they don't want to leave to go and get a cup of coffee or get a sandwich or whatever. So it's more about the space and the environment in which they are interacting that people seem to be most interested in. Thankfully, they are also interested in journals and books and other things that libraries also provide. So we took this information as well as, you know, a lot of the research that we had done and other consultations that we had, and we, you know, slowly sort of saw some emerging priorities. So at the top of the emerging priorities is our physical infrastructure. Our building is old, our furniture is old, our furniture is uncomfortable, our rooms are cold, you know, all of that kind of stuff, right? So that's obviously are sort of our number one priority, but that's also the most complicated and expensive priority that's not totally within my power to enact. But it's still very, very important, I think, for that to have a place, a prominent place in our strategic plan to communicate to the university and to the community, this is important and we need this to be paid attention to. Technological infrastructure goes with the physical infrastructure insofar as, we don't have a very functional website. We don't have single sign-on. We don't have enough digitization. We don't have enough human resources to properly manage the massive amount of electronic journals that we actually do have. So they're hard to find and they're hard to use. And there's a whole lot of technological infrastructure that we need to pay attention to. Strategic development of resource collections, this is more expressed as a concern by faculty, especially faculty who are engaged in research, than it is by students. I'm getting the impression that, and I think that our collection is actually more than adequate to address the needs of the majority of undergraduate students, right? It's pretty solid for an undergraduate education. Where it gets a little weaker is in grad students or faculty research or honors students doing research. That's when we get a little bit like, is it really serving us? So we do need to pay attention. We can't just stop paying attention to our collection. That is an important part of what we do, obviously. So I've gotten the impression in my 2 years here, both by observation and through messaging, that St. FX has historically thought of the library as sort of almost as an extra, like adjacent to the core academic mission of the university. It's like, oh yeah, we have a faculty of arts and we have this and we have a faculty of science and we have a faculty of business and blah, blah, blah. Oh, right, and then we also have a library. Well, I think, as I told you at the beginning, the library is central and everything else should be off of it, not the other way around. But I'm biased. But I do think that the recognition of the role of the library as core to the academic mission of the university and integral to the, got a typo there, but anyway, integral to the student experience that is so important to St. FX ought to be more recognized and ought to be more central in people's minds. And from my point of view, what that means for me is that me and my staff, we need to do a better job of communications, outreach, and engagement. We need to be better at telling people what we do, why we do it, and expressing our passion for it. We have also heard that we need to pay attention to diversity, inclusion, anti-racism, decolonization, and sustainability. These are areas both in our collection and our services that have been paid attention to, if you will, and that's an important thing that we need to do. We've started to do a little bit of that since I've come here, and I think that also needs to be very present in our strategic plan. And finally, succession planning and staff development. About 40% of the library staff is scheduled for a normal date of retirement. People retire at different dates, but normal date of retirement is age 65. 40% of the library staff are scheduled to retire within the next 5 to 6 years. That's an enormous amount of institutional knowledge that's going to walk out the door, but it's also a huge opportunity. Maybe, I'm not going to say for sure, but maybe partly because 40% of our staff are scheduled for retirement within the next 5 to 6 years, we're missing some key skills that are needed in a modern 21st century library. We do not have adequate skills, for instance, in the area of electronic resource management. 90% of our collection is electronic. We have one person who knows how to manage that, 1.5. So we need to sort of reorganize our staff. We need to think about succession planning. We need to think about the skills that we need. That's a huge job that needs to be present in our strategic plan. So these are the priority sort of directions, not well articulated, but these are the things that are coming out of our consultations and our research. So we started to put these together into some actual directions. So, can't read in the dark. Strategic direction number 1, we've labeled transform. So this really does have a lot to do with the transformation of our physical infrastructure first. So we have some both short-term and long-term goals. Short-term, we want to do a few things, and if you've been in the library this year, you'll see that we got the majority of the Great Hall and the 3rd floor newly carpeted this year. We have a bunch of new furniture on order, so hopefully it will get here before graduation in April, but probably won't get installed until after exams because we don't want to disrupt studying. You will see some things coming in over the Christmas break, but not a ton. But we are working on little refreshes here and there to make things just a little bit more comfortable. New blinds. All those old 70s drapes, they disappeared in the last couple of weeks, and we have new blinds that are nicer than these. Or maybe they're just newer. So we're, these little projects to just refresh our existing space, that it needs to be in our plan. But also we need to start thinking about what do we need in a full-on renovation? What is it that we want to be in our physical space, and we need to engage with the university foundation to, or what are they called? The fundraising people, you know them, and develop a vision committee with students and faculty and community members to really start to articulate and develop a fundraising goal to raise the money to actually do the full-on renovation. Other things that would fall under this sort of transformation would be also the digital infrastructure that I've mentioned, and a few other little projects like that. The second strategic direction, and it's actually the newest direction, is one, because we started out with just 2, and then we decided to put in a third, which we decided to make number 2, just doesn't matter, is called Sustain. And it was really put in there, we don't have a specific articulation about it, but it's meant to capture the work that is done to continue to sustain the library and its mission. So a lot of what we do, a lot of what libraries do is not new and exciting. It's kind of like to sustain, to keep things going, but also to do planning in a sustainable manner, right? So whatever we do, we need to make sure that it is sustainable. Any projects that we take on, we need to make sure that they can be sustained. So we're still working on this one a little bit. Oops, that's not quite the right one. Oh yes, it is, sorry, engage. So that's the third one, and this is where we want to build stronger collaborations and really to work very closely with other plans. So this is where a lot of the work of the library actually comes in terms of, okay, here we go. Engaging with the academic plan, the student experience and opportunity plan to ensure that we're supporting the strategic priorities of the university. So a lot of things fall under here, and I'm just going to highlight some that might be of particular interest to students. And that's working to support the Research and Creative Works Plan, including the promotion of the Atlantic Region Open Textbooks Project. So want to do a lot more, a lot more partnership with you all, and trying to promote that with faculty and support faculty in their endeavors in that way as much as we can. Other things in here include the possibility, we've already sort of started launching a Makerspace. You'll recall at the beginning of my presentation, I talked a little bit about how libraries are sites of creation of knowledge. Historically, academic knowledge creation was in the written form, right? That's how we created knowledge. We went to university, we wrote a lot of papers, we became academics, we wrote books, etc. But increasingly, we now create knowledge in many other forms, right? You all make podcasts and videos and other types of knowledge output. Well, there's no reason why the library, as a common space, shouldn't help you in that kind of knowledge production, just like we've always helped you in the print-based knowledge production. So many university libraries now have makerspaces that can help you create other types of knowledge. So that's a project that we'd like to get off the ground. A big one that I'm really, really hopeful we might actually launch in the spring, so this might be one of the first things to come out of the strat plan, is to engage a outreach and engagement librarian for a pilot project who would focus on outreach and communications, and their efforts would be specifically focused on Indigenous, Black, International, and first-generation students. So we're looking at our most vulnerable students, our most marginalized students, the ones that need the most support, and trying to find, hopefully, a librarian from one of those communities to come in and work specifically with that group. And also with faculty from those groups as well. So that's a project that I'm very optimistic about, hopefully. And then also we're working very closely with Elizabeth Yeo's office on developing increased support for student wellness. So if you've been in the library recently, you'll notice we have a small collection of books that we did not used to have on mental health and wellness. They're right at the entrance of the library when you walk in. Really trying to, historically, the library's collection has been only focused on the academic curriculum and not so much on student life and that kind of thing. And so I carved out some of our budget to spend a little bit of money on other topics. So anti-racism was an area, Indigenous knowledge was an area, and mental health and wellness was an area. Historically, if we didn't have a department, there wasn't a budget to buy resources. So given there's no department of mental health and wellness and there's no department of anti-racism, very few resources were being developed in those areas. And we want to continue that kind of work. So I think those are the highlights. So this is the timeline for our project. So you'll see that we're reaching the finish line, if you will. This is my last consultation session. So you all have the last word on this round. After this, the document will be produced. There is a draft document that has been circulated a little bit, but now this will be the first sort of official document. It will be sent out for comment. The community will have one last chance to send in their comments. Any significant comments that we receive, we will try to integrate and then stamp it and submit it to, it goes to the Senate Library Committee for their revision and approval. They approve it, it goes to the AVP, but the AVP is the chair of that committee, so basically that's done at the same time, and then the AVP takes ownership of it. Obviously, I take ownership of it, but he's my boss, so he or she, we'll see. And finally, it will get presented as a fait accompli document to which you can hold us accountable, hopefully by April of this year. So keep your eyes out for that draft document so that you can read it in its entirety and provide comment. So is there anything you especially like about where you see us going? Is there anything that you think is missing, or is there anything else you want to say? Yes.
As an honor student, I completely agree with your commentary about like the different electronic resources that are available there. I think a wide breadth of them would be really awesome to put on the library. Thank you for your presentation as well.
Yeah.
I like how you discussed too the ideas of not just the cafe, but as what that resembles among the serving, that there's more spaces for a collaborative approach that students can sit and discuss with each other. I know a lot of first years as we came to campus, we didn't know, we wanted to of course study for the library, that's the first thing that hits your head to go, but we just felt that we couldn't really discuss a lot or collaborate within the library because we took away from everyone else's space and studying. So then we found alternate spaces such as in the sub here or in our rooms or in our study lounges, but we always do like those private booking rooms in the library just as a central focus, because everything is in there that we need, and then we're just forced to go from our mini to the library or from our residences back to the library. So if you focus on that still, it'll be something very good.
Great. Okay, sorry, somebody else needs to keep track because I don't know people's names.
Sorry, to have a focus on like trying to staff someone who understands that aspect of the modernization of the library. Hannah?
I was wondering, like, since it's such a renovation, like, it has to be like accessible from like students that come from like
I'm so sorry, I can't hear you.
oh, sorry. So since this is such a renovation, so it will be like respected on the students that come. And do you know like how much the cost might be that thing? Because even like going through renovation versus the students.
Typically, I mean, renovations of university buildings do not necessarily fall to the student account. There are universities that have gone to their student union to talk to them about helping to raise money for a library renovation by putting it on a student account, which is usually a temporary levy. But that would not be something I would necessarily propose, and that would be way down the line. And it would have to be approved by whatever student union at that time. And usually they would have a referendum on those kinds of things. But I don't know if St. FX has ever done that kind of thing for academic building construction. So I don't know that that would happen here. But I have read about that happening at other institutions.
Yeah, so we have a consultation agreement with the university, so if they are going to add a levy to student, like to a student fee, there's a couple different options, but they would most likely come to council to run a referendum. So ultimately council and then students would decide if they wanted to add that fee. But, so the last one of note would be the athletics complex. So they came to council voted to support a referendum, to run a referendum, and that's how that athletics fee for a university building to happen. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think we're next on it.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this a couple times already in council and in our committee meetings, but I really value the idea of putting forth a movement and a priority to make the library more accessible, not just like in the physical aspect where all across campus there's a lot of accessibility issues that we are seeing. So having that boundary really be looked at under a magnifying glass and improved on through the strategic planning and everything that'll come from that. I think that would improve a lot of those issues of how students are engaging with the materials and with the library itself. So I would really like to put that forth that accessibility is a huge issue across campus, and for the library to even make steps to become more accessible is amazing.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing we can do in the short term is make our electronic infrastructure more accessible, right? Make our website more user-friendly and more accessible, our catalog more accessible, the technological infrastructure behind our catalog is being upgraded and will be upgraded as of May. It won't look different to you, but you should see it working better. But yeah, thank you, Tiana. I will go back and make sure that we've highlighted a few different accessibility sort of objectives that we have.
Awesome. Anything further?
Yeah, thank you so much for the presentation. It was really good. And I had a couple of second questions. Is there anything you think is missing? I think in a time of like when we had this global summit about environmental changes, is there any possibility of having a green space for promoting environmental sustainability through library? Just like, a lot of universities across the world and even in Canada, I think they also have green walls, where they try to grow things or like green rooms or green spaces, which is also good for mental health and wellness. So something like that.
Yeah, let me take that. I don't know what can be done in the short term, other than theoretically and possibly increasing the number of plants we have in the building as it is. But but I'm sure there are, if nothing else, I'm sure there are things that we can do to enhance awareness in the short term, even if there's not much we can do with our actual space in the short term. Like I would not, embark on trying to get support for money for a green wall in our current building. However, that might be something that might come when we talk about a full-on renovation. So maybe including in the strategic plan terms like with attention being paid to environmental sustainability, because we do also have this sustain option, or not option, you know what I mean, element in our plan. So to try to include some sort of statements about that is a good idea. Thank you for that. Was there another thing that you had? Sorry. You all know how to get in touch with me if there's something that you think of afterwards, right? Okay, just anyway, Meredith?
Sorry, I didn't know if you were wrapping up.
No.
You mentioned that the library is looking at engaging more with Atlantic OER, which I think is great, and I was wondering if you guys have an idea of how you might be doing that yet.
I mean, it's not so much that we want to engage more with the Atlantic OER. We're pretty engaged with the Atlantic OER, but I think what we want to do is to continue to promote and to do a little bit, to do a little bit more in terms of raising faculty awareness of the Atlantic OER project and how, and help those faculty who express interest to navigate through the process that Atlantic OER offers them. So for example, after a recent presentation that we made somewhere, I can't remember where, or maybe a message that I sent out to faculty or something, we had one faculty member who said, oh, I didn't know that there was Atlantic OER, I'm really interested, and is now working with our librarian to put something together. So we do offer some support for faculty, but mostly what we're trying to do is, that's what Atlantic OER is for, and so mostly what we're trying to do is promote that and help faculty to access that.
Just following up on Mayor's point there, I'd really love to see the fact that you guys are obviously engaging in time with Atlantic OER. That's a lot of what we've seen from students as well. But I also think there's a big role that Atlantic OER could play, especially when you're talking about faculty engagement with the Pressbook site, because right now it allows for information from really any institution, including Indigenous institutions, community colleges, and all universities across the province. So if that could be part of how you guys want to expand that breadth of knowledge, I think that it could play a large role in kind of building some more materials on in all those areas you guys want to hit, like decolonization, anti-racism, across the board.
Yeah, good, thank you. Sorry, yes.
Just trying to update the space and trying to engage with students, I think it'd be very beneficial to run some sort of programs where that sort of little renovations or little additions the students can help to incorporate that. Things like said, more clinics, like running some sort of program where students come, they get to explore the library, especially starting in first year, because last year I felt, especially booking the spaces, it was very intimidating to go into a library. It's confusing when you first go in it. So making that an open space and welcoming students to really make it feel like their own place. And I was just curious, how are you going to promote open educational resources among students? Because I don't see a lot of that coming from the library. And I don't think it's a topic a lot of students know that it invests in.
How do you see our role in terms of promoting open textbooks to students? Or are you talking about open resources in general?
Just in general.
Okay, we can definitely increase awareness of the resources that we do have, because we do have a whole section on our complicated website that is dedicated to open resources, and what they are, where to find them, not just textbooks, but other things. So, but we can definitely up our game on that. I'm just going to mention two things that actually have nothing to do with our strategic plan necessarily. Now I've forgotten what one of them was. But I think I'm meeting with Meredith next week to talk about this a little bit in more detail. But we're trying to get off the ground is a project where the library would house textbooks. We cannot afford to buy textbooks. They're too expensive. And they, as you know, and because they kind of go out of date so fast, anyway, libraries don't buy textbooks. But what we can do and what we're trying to do is solicit donations of textbooks that we will then keep in the library and loan out to students who need them on short-term loan. So you wouldn't be able to take them out of the library, but at least you could come in and read the chapter you're supposed to read, or copy the chapter you're supposed to read, or whatever it is, if you can't afford your textbook. So this is a project we're trying to get off the ground, but we're going to need you all to help. Anyway, I'm going to talk to Meredith. Meredith and I are going to work that out a little bit, and she'll come back to you with, with what we thought we might be able to do. So that's a sort of a, not an open, but it's trying to improve access to expensive resources, especially for students who can't afford them. Yeah.
Yeah, in my undergrad at Acadia, they had a similar program like that, and it was used by many of the professors, which helped communicate that these resources that, some of them are required in the class, you can find in the library, and it is available for those short-term loans. So if you have any questions about how they did it,
I can talk to them. Yeah, we're in pretty close touch. So.
Yeah. So question was like the books which are you mentioned really expensive. They have like versions coming each year, and they barely change anything. Like they change some things, but if you have a bulk of outdated books that are still having the same syllabus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we won't be worrying about whether or not it's the most recent edition, as long as it's like so maybe the one recommended this year is the 7th edition, but if we have a copy of the 6th in the collection, that's good enough. Yeah.
I just have two questions about the program. First off, I think it's awesome that America built this in a little bit. I think it's awesome that these students are doing the service learning project, and I think it was really cool that they came up with the concept. But I definitely have questions for like long-term implementation. So one is like, how would they be making sure that they were up to date?
So that we would do that. So what I do is I ask the bookstore every semester for a list of all of the books that they have been asked to order for the bookstore. So it might not be an exhaustive list, but it's pretty darn close, right? So I get that list every semester, and so we keep a running list of the current textbooks that we know of that are in use. And so then donations are then compared to that list. Those that are on that list will be put in the collection in the library. Those that aren't on that list will be jettisoned one way or the other. Donated to Textbook for Change is the current plan. And that's how we will do it.
My second question, because I know some profs do course reserve as well, would it be somewhat similar, or how would it differ from that program?
Functionally, it would be very similar in terms of it's short-term loan only. You would go to the desk. I think, we haven't worked out the details because it depends how big the collection is, whether we can have the space to put it behind or whether we're going to have to put it on an open shelf and hope for the best. Yeah.
Yeah, I just had a quick question just about one of the things I guess I was just wondering is a lot of courses now seem require students to buy course access codes, which kind of requires students to just go ahead and buy a brand new textbook every single year. It's happened to me for years now with a lot of my econ business courses.
to tell you the truth, I don't know a lot about how those course access codes work. And it's kind of on my list to learn a little bit more. I have this horrible suspicion that the publisher has it set up in such a way that there's no way for libraries to provide the same access as an access code. What I don't know is what content is in that course access code that is not in the print version of the text. Like, what is it that you're missing if you don't buy the access code and simply rely upon a print copy of the text? And some of you probably know the answer to that better than I do, because you've been working with these resources, but these are not resources that libraries have been working with so much as faculty and students. So I need to learn more and see what I can do with faculty and with publishers to talk about that issue. Because publishers really ought to get on board, because if they don't, they're going to lose all of your dollars to open educational resources. So I think they need to change their model personally. But yeah.
I was going to add on to that. I think with the library increasing their support for faculty about open resources will help some faculty step away from the access code. From personal experience, every time I buy an access code, it's so that you can do online quizzes with quiz bank questions, or that you can do test prep.
Yeah.
And that it's mandatory for the course. It counts like X% of your grade.
Right.
But so having the library support faculty with open resources will probably really help with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and faculty are relying on those. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to sort of was tell you about, which has nothing to do with my strat plan, but does relate to the comment that was made about how can students be more involved in helping to create a space that is welcoming for students. Something like that, somebody had to say. Prior to the pandemic, I had started this program I called Cookies and Coffee, where I invited students to come in and sit down with me for half an hour or an hour and have a cup of coffee and just talk about the library. And it was a way for me to get, it was early consultations that fed into this plan, actually. But I wanted it to become a regular thing, but then you know what happened. But I think now we're approaching a place again where I want to restart that as a monthly event in the library, and start to develop, or start to explore the idea of developing what I call an ambassador program. I don't know if it'll actually develop into that or not, but I just want to start with a regular not one-on-one, it could be a group of people, but like doors open for me and students to engage and talk about things and see if some of these ideas can come to fruition through that mechanism. So look for that in the new year. I just have to order a refrigerator for my office for the coffee cream and some sort of coffee maker. I think we have an old one lying around somewhere. So I'm working on that, so stay tuned for that.
Awesome. Do you have any last questions before we wrap things up? All right. Well, thank you both for your really good consultation. Thank you so much for coming in today. We really appreciate it. I think a lot of us love the library, and we really appreciate it as a place where we can spend a lot of time being students. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, so I think we're going to continue moving on with the agenda.
I'll give you this thing back, even though I forgot to use it for the
Very
last
much.
20 minutes.
What should we do first, referenda or SNS? Yeah, okay, we're gonna do referenda. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna pass it off to Nick, Murray, and Sean. I kind of did a preface, but
Yeah, I crafted up a nice little PowerPoint.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
If I can put that on. All right, go get some. Yeah, Pardon?
I don't know, that sentence kind of got confused in my head.
I didn't notice myself like I was signing on my email. And then we get to go.
questions, all right.
Wise men say.
Yeah, don't worry, guys. This is gonna be like super quick too, you know.
It's only the most important piece of
It's
governance
so-
for our
it's so
organization.
it, it's
but
so it.
whatevs.
We know what's up. We know what's up. We know what's up.
Yeah, great questions.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Are we good to get started, Naomi? I'm speaking in the microphone like she can hear me through an earpiece.
Is the microphone on? Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
It's a microphone so they can hear you on the live stream.
Oh.
So the room can hear you.
Oh,
So you still
okay.
have to talk loud, so just keep it here, Nick.
All right. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
All right, folks, we got a good one for you tonight. You know, to start off, I'd like to introduce myself to those who I haven't had the chance to meet yet. My name is Nick Murray. I'm a fourth-year student, and it's my second year of the St. FX Student Union Governance Review Committee. We're here to talk to you today about something we've been working on for a bit, something that is remarkably important. And if I may be so bold as to say, the entire fate of our organization hangs in the balance here, you know. But, and you guys know what it is. It's the act of incorporation, you know. It's the most interesting topic in the world, you know. Now, if you folks haven't had the chance to read the old act of incorporation yet, don't worry. I just had the chance to look at it pretty recently, like a few weeks ago, and like, ooh. It's a bit of a doozy, you know. It's a bit out there. It wasn't the most, you know, pleasurable experience, but hey, if all things go according to plan, this time in a year, you won't have to deal with the old one anymore, you know? We're going to jump right into something here. All right, so we got the old act here, right? Well, I like to call it the big problem. You know, it's the source of all the difficulties in life, pretty much. The first thing you'll notice, if you ever actually read it, is it is old as dirt. Like, originally drafted, 1965, amended once.
Born in 73, man.
We didn't consult beforehand. It's old for a document. Okay. Now, so yeah. So now in essence, if a document is old, that's not by itself necessarily bad. But the act of incorporation isn't just some everyday document. It's the cornerstone jewel of our governing documents, right? Because I mean, how are we organized, right? You got like the little policy manual, deals with small things, you know, like coat check, hazing, you know, whatever. You got the bylaws, a pretty important thing, you know. I know a lot of you know a lot about bylaws, you know, how the whole organization's run. And then at the very top, the summit of the mountain, you got the act of incorporation, right? Which ideally should be kept concise, should be kept short. And quite frankly, if you have a really shitty, pardon my language, act of incorporation, the whole thing falls apart. And folks, I have some bad news. It's bad. But yeah, okay, so just to, I don't want to like press too much on this because you guys can just take my word for it, but the old act has a lot of problems. First of all, it is very out of touch. If you read it, it's like, whose school is this? This isn't St. FX, you know? Like, who is the commissioner of communications? Who's the secretary treasurer, you know? It's not even up to date. There's also, I would say, I don't know if sexism is the right word, but there's definitely some of that in there, you know? Like, the chairman, he does this? It's like, I don't know, you know, not my cup of tea. It also talks a lot about impeachment. Now, a big thing we talked about is like impeachment is kind of an icky topic because it's like there's some drama there. And the act loves to talk about impeachment. And also, it's just really convoluted, right? It's like 11 pages, but it's like the worst 11 pages you'd ever read in your life. Now, okay, so we've established there's a significant problem here, right? What has the Governance Review Committee been doing? So we've been trying to fix the whole thing from the ground up, not just with the act of incorporation. That's what the folks did like originally 2 years ago, right? This is year 3 of the project. And then also the bylaws and the policy manual. But the main thing we're focusing on here is, of course, the act of incorporation,
we have a new one. Not like new right now. It's 2019. I didn't write it. It was before my time, before all of our times. But there's a new one that is better in pretty much every conceivable way. It's more modern. It's much more concise. And here's the best part. You folks don't even have to worry about it, because it already got the A-OK thumbs up, good to go from council 2 or so years ago, before any of us can remember, because that's ages ago, right? So point is, it was drafted up a while ago, and students generally liked it, the students who were involved in it. And why did we stop at that point? Well, COVID happened, and then a million provincial elections happened, and, things happen, But hey, we're getting back on the horse now, and I think it's a perfect time to do it. So the new act, the wonderful solution to all the problems in the world. What do we got here? So so the main thing is it kind of like moves the Students' Union into the 21st century. So one thing, Sean, you informed me of is the new act. It treats the Students' Union not as some boring corporate entity, but as a person. It gives it like personal rights, which, hey, I don't know what really is going on there. But effectively, it is part of the course for nonprofit organizations nowadays, and I would presume it would provide the Students' Union with a lot more legitimacy and, efficacy in whatever it deals with. And we streamlined it greatly. The old act, I would say, is around 11 pages, more or less. This current new one is like just shy over 3 pages, which is like really good. Cut it in half and then a bit more. And the only things that are in here, right, are like necessary things. Like, this is what the Students' Union is. This is how you amend it, and like that's pretty much it. Because all the other stuff, all that little minute things, those other things, you don't want that in the act. You want those in the bylaws, and you want the policy. Because God ordained, or whatever it is, I don't know why, to change the act of incorporation, you have to give it right to the Nova Scotia legislature. You got to go down to Halifax, present it to them, and say, oh, please change it. With the bylaws, the policy manuals, you can just change that, flick of a dime, but no. So ideally, maybe I'm a bit optimistic. I am very optimistic, but in another 50 years' time, students aren't going to have the same problem. I think we have a good act here. Has some longevity, and also just in general, it's a much better representation of the organization's makeup. All the old, outdated positions are gone. All the, everything that we stand for nowadays, fairness, equity. You got it in there. And also, like I mentioned with the old act, it was kind of the cornerstone of the old governing documents. This new act is like the crown jewel of our new governing documents, right? Like, refer to the new bylaw on this, refer to the new policy on that, which is kind of important because we've been working on this for 3 years. So if this act falls through, the whole thing falls over like a house of cards. So, like, fingers crossed that doesn't happen, because that would suck. But yeah, so we're on good straits right now. Now, here's the important part. What we're requesting from y'all, like, hold on to your seats here, because this is where you all make the magic happen. All right, we're bringing this sick new document to the student body in January, right? We are, we are. We are hoping to get a council-led referendum, initiated referendum. So when the general election rolls around in January and people vote for their Pres, VPA, BOG reps, and I think that's it, there will also be a fun new little box to tick off. Do you support the new 2019 Act of Incorporation for the St. FX Students' Union? And, honestly, we're looking forward to that. The thing is, the Students' Union itself has to remain nonpartisan during the election season, so you can't just tell people to, like, go vote yes. But I can. So, the plan is I'm gonna run alongside this beautiful little document, kind of like if it were a candidate itself, and we're gonna go to all the students and we're gonna be like, hey, here's what's up, here's the change. It would be really cool if you voted yes. Now this is important because for y'all, there's no work. It's a vote yes today, and then forget about it. Like, take a nap on it. I do all the work. But then gains for everyone. You here have a fire chance to leave St. FX as a community far better than it was when you came here, and you don't even have to do anything. It's beautiful. I predict after the referendum, like, it's gonna pass by like really good margins, you know? Because here's the thing, it's like a net improvement in every conceivable way. I can share the documents, like, there is no way the old document's better, right? So once we pass it by like 90%, 95%, or whatever it is, or 55%, we take a nice little, the committee will take a nice little field day to Halifax, hopefully before I graduate, because I really want to see this through. Put the new act on Timothy Houston's desk, say pretty please, and then before you know it, it's passed, and then Bob's your uncle, here we are. But that's like a tomorrow problem. This is today. Now finally, I know what you're all thinking. Like, geez, Nick, that's a wonderful presentation. You really hit the nail on the head. But why, right? Because like, let's not beat around the bush here. Most students, do they care about the act of incorporation, right? Do they care either way? No, of course they don't. Do I care about, I mean, that's on thin ice, right? So why go through the trouble of a referendum to begin with, right? Why not just cut out the middleman and go to the legislature itself? I'll answer that in one word, or rather one picture. Yeah, you all know what it is. Yeah, you all know what it is. All right, if there's time willing, I have a bit of a story to tell you guys. And Sean, you told me this story, but I'm going to tell it to you guys. Once upon a time, a few years ago, the Acadia Students' Union was in the exact same boat as we were, right? Like, their government's documents were in the shitter, right? You know, they had to fix it. And they were like, you know what, students don't care. We're just going to give it to the legislature, right? They drafted up a new nice one, and they sent it on its way. And they went to the, province house or whatever it is and said, hey, pass our like new document here, right? And they were like, oh, that's great, Acadia. How much did it pass by during the referendum? Oh, we didn't put it through a referendum, you know? Oh, did your student council like it though? No, we didn't show it to our student council anyway, right? And then that just took them so much longer, you know? It was just, so they tried to take a shortcut. And before you know it, I mean, it's just a whole hoopla, you know? You don't save any time, and you don't really get any student consultation. So, the way we're envisioning it, to put it to a referendum, to show it to the students, is not only the morally correct thing to do, I would argue, but it's also the efficient thing to do. Yeah, so pretty much, folks, to tie it all together in a nice little bow, you all have the opportunity to make sure that our organization is represented by the needs and the desires of students of today, and not of half a century ago. I'm so sorry, Sean. I totally forgot the age thing. Like, that really hurt. But yeah, so that's about it. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to fact check a couple things here. That was an amazing presentation. You can see why the Governance Review Committee selected Nick to, and he was gracious enough to help us with this, to run the referendum for this. Just a couple things, though, just to clarify. As much as we'd love to drop it on Timothy Houston's desk, that's not the way this works. You need a MLA to bring the piece of legislation forward, which an act of incorporation is, to a two or three levels of review, and then eventually, once it passes through there, it would then go to the floor of the legislature, which will then take the road trip. So it's not just a simple means of getting a referendum done. The referendum, the difference between us and Acadia, they did bring it through council, so it was council supported, just so you know. Our legal representative on all matters of the U also worked with Acadia with theirs. It's on his recommendation. So we've already presented this at an AGM. So we could essentially move it on if we wanted to. But his recommendation based on that experience was that we do put it to our membership to have them vote on it. Hopefully it will pass. 90%, I guess, is the one to beat. But that really is the a really important thing. To Nick's points, that we do think it's very, very important that our students get a chance to vote on this new piece of legislation. This is the only piece from the governance review committee that does have to get passed through the Nova Scotia legislature. Everything else will be having other processes to pass those documents when it's time. And all of those documents are going to come here first, okay? So yeah, if you do, like Nick said, he really did sum up the new act very well. It does embody the organization to take on sort of the legal qualities of a person. In our decision making. It does take out a lot of stuff that is woefully outdated, whether it's position, whether it's genderification of language in it. all these things, to just make it a very simple document that covers off exactly what Nick said. So if you have any questions, we'll take them now.
And if anyone wants like the new, I think you all like got like the new proposed act in an email from Naomi a few weeks ago, but if you want it again, we can send it.
And the old one is on the website. So, yeah. So, well, we're kind of, the timeline for us to get the referendum done is, you know, depending on what the vote is today, it would then move to be a question on the election ballot for January. Once that's completed, then we would engage with an MLA to have them bring our new piece of legislation forward to have it put through the process and then eventually make it to, we're hoping that we can get on the spring session. It's a very heavy docket, but we're hoping we can, if it doesn't end up on the spring, it'll end up on the fall.
You know if it has to be a private member's bill or can it be a government bill?
It's through a private member's bill.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Brendan? That's already laid out in the bylaws, I believe. Yeah.
Not 90, I was exaggerating.
It's 50, isn't it 50% of the vote plus one or something like that? Yeah. Yep, it's up for debate. Yep. Any other questions for us? Look, this is a long time coming. Like Nick kind of alluded to, we ran into multiple issues with getting this moved forward earlier. COVID, changes of power within the province, and then of course an election. So we're really excited to be finally in the position to start making this governance change that we've been working on for a couple of years. So, all right, going once, going twice. Thank you. Thanks, Nick. Yeah, man.
Now we are going to do little SNS. Oh, Ben is gone. Do we want what? Okay. Big dog's gotta eat. Do we want it on the screen or do we want it to just? We could do it on the screen. We could do it without the screen. Thoughts, comments? Would you guys like a visual aid? No screen. Okay, that's okay. I think we're probably just gonna do like a little brief overview as well, to keep things chill, cause we gotta get through council. Yeah, I'll just do a little brief, I guess, since Ben's not here. Yeah, so Ben, Jack, and I went down to Halifax on behalf of Students Nova Scotia, which is our provincial advocacy group, to advocate to government. So what kind of happens is it's our biggest like stakeholder event of the year. We present government officials, our research and consultation-based documentation, and we meet with all different parties of government. Yeah. Ben, we're not going to use a visual aid. Is that all right with you?
Yeah, that's all good by me.
All right. So I think what we're kind of going to do is just run you over the document and the different things that we advocated on behalf of. I think it's okay without.
I have the link. I just don't know how to.
I think we're probably okay just to run through it quick.
Okay.
Is that all right with you?
Yeah, that's all good by me.
Ben is going to QB this, so
Okay, thanks a ton. Yeah, okay, this is awesome, and like in the interest of time, like obviously we'll try and keep her a bit shorter here. Just kind of like before everybody heads home for the holidays, just kind of want to give like a brief like overview of kind of the recommendations that we were pushing for. So like after I presented that that basically like that submission to the Minister of Advanced Education, that was kind of like looking at what like the bigger issues were, like the bigger like areas of concern for students, but we didn't have any like direct asks within that. So just kind of looking at like obviously like we're all pretty familiar with like the post-secondary context and like the struggles that certain students go through every day, but for the most part like looking at the Nova Scotian context, this is the province with the lowest median income per family on average, and then also one of the highest child poverty rates in the country. So looking at ways in which we can start to promote like post-secondary education as a way to bring up your earnings potential within the labor force. We had like a little table on the side, which is really like just demonstrating that no matter if you're going into skilled trades, community college, or university, it's gonna really increase your earnings potential in the market. But then at the same time, the social and the economic returns on education are huge. So one, you're empowering students to go out there and get their education, but at the same time, Nova Scotian universities account for 76% of the research and development within the province, which in comparison to the national average of like 30, 34, it's obviously huge. So universities are doing a lot in terms of researching and developing the issues and the strategies that are important to us. But then at the same time, students, we also account for a crazy amount of annual export revenue, so about $886 million. So we are a large area that deserves investment. So kind of looking at the affordability side, and obviously as we all went through the pandemic, the financial situation for students almost across the board has changed. So 88% of students in like a recent national survey were saying that their financial situation had changed for the worse, and that they'd had to fund their university or their community college skilled trades in a different way than they previously would have. Then at the same time, pandemic-wise, the employment opportunities for students really hit a decrease, and we're also one of the slowest to recover from this. So like a lot of our recommendations today, one, look into the affordability side, how we can like break down those financial barriers, but also get students employment opportunities and like tangible work experience that when you do leave, there's somebody that's willing to take that risk on that student and say, boom, here's XYZ job. So we're kind of looking at that, and then also at the hybrid education model, and like now that we had to go online for a little bit with like a hybrid model, how can we make sure that that quality of education is still there regardless of whether you're in person or online? So overall, we were kind of looking at, and a lot of our recommendations are geared towards kind of centering post-secondary education as a way to bounce back from the COVID-19 pandemic, and a lot of that, especially with the new government, revolves around let's grow our population, let's make sure that students, let's make sure that people in general want to come here and stay here. So we've kind of been talking about kind of like a student-focused economic recovery that's focused on a few different things. So the first of which, and we're kind of calling this like the student retention package almost. So the first of which is kind of reducing barriers to the post-secondary access, whether that be among Nova Scotian youth, but also out of province and international students. Next, increasing and also supporting the retention of out-of-province international students to this region. Thirdly, prioritizing a high-quality educational experience that's centered on well-being and innovation. So it's not just about students coming to school in Nova Scotia, but it's also making sure that we all have the supports in place to help you get to the end of your degree. It's not just about, okay, you made it here, now you're going to get a degree. What we've seen is that mental health, and obviously a bunch of things across the board, those supports are going to be incredibly important in actually ensuring that you will make it to the end of your degree. And then lastly, focusing on that retention at the end, like once you've graduated, and how can we make sure that like the opportunities out there for employment are readily available to graduates. So in just summarizing like our recommendations, we're kind of touching on enhancing that access and affordability side, then prioritizing student well-being, so making sure those supports are in place so that people can make it to the end of their degree. Investing in student employment, so throughout your degree, but then also making sure that there's opportunities for graduates after you're done. And then lastly, innovating on our existing educational materials, and that's mostly wrapped up within OER. So I'll pass it over to Jack for the first recommendation.
And kind of give context on that, if that's all right, because the referendum needs to be voted on before people leave. Sorry, if that's all right.
Yeah, so basically the first recommendation about affordability, this one was specifically just to Nova Scotia students. This one is specifically just for Nova Scotia students. So basically it's about allowances. So typically, you get housing allowances and food allowances if you go through the Nova Scotia Financial Assistance Program. This hasn't been changed since 2017, whereas tuition and inflation to housing costs and food has also gone up. So our first recommendation is that Students Nova Scotia, we recommend to the Government of Nova Scotia to increase the living allowances of the Student Financial Assistance Program by $150 monthly and increase the weekly maximums from $200 to $250. This would be through a direct investment or a reallocation of $9 million from the Nova Scotia University tuition bursary. And then we also recommend that these increases should be tied to lesser of yearly increases in inflation or average tuition costs. So just to make sure that students in Nova Scotia specifically have enough money to actually afford their housing and food. That is all. Going to number 2. I'll bring it over. Boom, boom. Oh, we're doing running today.
Cheers. Okay, so whereas like the first recommendation is really like taking a look at just how outdated the student financial assistance maximums are, because students like roughly on a yearly basis end up running an average of a $12,000 deficit. So over the course of your degree, you're taking, I don't know, you got 4 or 5 years. All of a sudden, that's added up to $60,000. You're in that amount of debt when you leave here. So we're trying to tie that into inflation or another measure that's actually going to be realistic to the increases in price that students are seeing. But then one of the largest issues that we've heard from students is that like the housing crisis is obviously real, and a lot of students are in a position in which they, for lack of supply or whatever the reason may be, you're now in a rental situation where you're paying a lot more than what you can actually afford. So we are kind of recommending something similar to the technology bursary that was given in 2020. So that was to confront the COVID-19 pandemic and the fact that we were all going online. People need that internet access, maybe you need a computer. So the government gave a $750 one-time bursary to all borrowers from the Student Financial Assistance Program. We're advocating for a $750 to $1,000 one-time bursary that would be specifically to confront the housing crisis and make sure that students that are in an unaffordable rental or housing situation right now can actually afford to come back next year and just like kind of clear away with a lot of the affordability issues that have been seen throughout this year.
Awesome. Yeah. So my 2 recommendations were based on work integrated learning and employment outside of education. We see that people who have worked in university are more likely to get a job and then stay. Really good stuff. These programs have been like historically, well not historically, but like in the past have done really well. And so essentially we asked for reinvestment so that more students could actually be placed in co-op programs or graduate to opportunities just because people really want to use them. Really good stuff, well received, I would say. Yeah, so that's kind of number 3 and 4, and then moving into 5.
Number 5 is more about, we go into prioritizing student well-being. So this one's specifically to international MSI, which has been something we've brought up to students in Nova Scotia and to the government for a lot of years now. So basically, I won't go too much into it, but as an international student in Nova Scotia, you have to be in the province for 12 months. If you leave for more than 31 days, that completely resets and you're not eligible for your health coverage. So we've recommended to the Government of Nova Scotia that they amend the current MSI provisions to allow international students to apply for MSI after 3 months. So typically in the past, we would always advocate that on day 1, that they would just get immediate coverage. That never got any traction, so now we're recommending after 3 months, they can apply for it as long as they are enrolled in full-time studies for at least 1 academic year. So, and they made a proposal during that week, which was similar to that. So,
yeah, made really good headway on that one, I'd say.
Yeah, huge headway on that one. Our 6th recommendation was exploring a student healthcare strategy. So the biggest issue that research-driven, like evidence-based recommendations or like from any institution or organization are having right now is that when it comes to health supports on campus, there's actually no consistent or concrete data from basically all institutions across the province. So our main thing is that, and like that's kind of a lot that was seen, is that you try to have conversations about ways in which we can improve like healthcare supports for students on campus and off campus. And the issue is that even though there's a lot of people around the table talking about these issues, there's actually no clear definition of what the gray areas are in terms of whether it be staff ratios, wait times, just across the board, what the main issues are that students are going through when they're accessing supports. So our recommendation was that the government of Nova Scotia explore a student healthcare strategy in consultation with institutions, students, and community partners. So that would just include like data collection in terms of the capacity for healthcare services on campus, and then also the healthcare needs for post-secondary students so that we can just better wrap up that area. And then lastly, we also had an ask in terms of investing in Atlantic OER. So this is on the innovation side. So obviously, we basically just laid out for them the huge gains for students that have been made from just the 1 year of an Atlantic OER pilot program. So as of right now, $133,000 have been saved for students in the past year alone, but they don't have financial sustainability because right now it's being basically put on by the Council of Atlantic University Librarians. So we recommended that the government of Nova Scotia invest roughly $250,000 into the Atlantic OER pilot program, which would support like operational and platform costs so we can keep having like a grant system for faculty, incentivize them to create it, a peer review process so that the quality is still there for open educational resources on the site, and then also just be able to continue having a regional repository for open educational resources within the province. So yeah, that kind of brings us to the end for the most part.
Awesome. Yeah, that was like a very short version of what we did. If you would love to chat more about it outside of this council meeting, I'm sure any of us would love to prattle off about it. This was our lives for the last 5 days, so kind of have it memorized.
Yeah, seriously, like feel free to come and ask any questions about this anytime. I can also send out the electronic version of our advocacy document to everyone if that's something you're interested in. But yeah, like come and talk to us about this. It was freaking dope.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, we're going to move into the voting so we can get us all out of here on time. I chatted with the counselors kind of prior to this, giving the context of stuff, but I'll briefly go over it again as well. So for the approval of the representative election dates, I think it was seen favorably by the counselors to go with kind of our extended timeline rather than our more condensed timeline. So that would kind of be nominations opening on the 14th of February and staying open until the 28th. So it would begin right before break and continue until after break in February. And then campaigning would begin on the 1st of March until the 8th of March, a week-long span with a 2-day polling period that ends in March. Any kind of questions about that before we move into voting? Yes, Mackenzie, what's up? Mm-hmm. Yep, all of our nominations are now electronic. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and we have a little bit of time either at the beginning or the end for people to come in person to have any questions. I just think, in my personal opinion, it's safe to give people a longer nomination period, especially with the representative election, because trying to squish it in before break, I think is going to make people have a bad time. It also gives some breathing room after the general election. Awesome. All right. Would someone like to... Oh, yeah. Any more questions, kind of comments, discussion on that? All right. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the council dates for the representative election? Thank you. Josh, can I get a second, please? Awesome. All right. Any discussion? I know I just kind of did discussion, but any other discussion at this time? Nope. All right. Would someone like to call the question? Thank you, Tiana. All right, we'll move into voting. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. All those who would like to oppose? All those who would like to abstain? All right, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you, folks. If you have any more questions about that at all as well, please feel free to reach out to me. And then we're going to move into the winter semester council dates. So I'll kind of do my little spiel again here. We're only going to do council like one-ish a month. I think that's probably better for most people's schedules. The dates would be January 16th, February 6th, March 6th, and then instead of having it during exams, kind of the week before exams begin on March 27th. Any questions or comments about that? These dates will also be made public. Yes, what's up? Mm-hmm. It is not during it, don't worry. Yeah. Yeah, the reading week I think is in the 20s, but our council date is February 6th. Yes, Sean, what's up?
So if the last council meeting is the 27th, does that mean the budget has to be prepared by this March 6th?
Yes.
It's supposed to be the one before the last council.
Okay, yes, probably. Is that all right? Or would you like us to? We could add another council date in April.
That's fine. Just wanna check.
Brendan, is that not okay? Because we can amend the council dates to have one in.
I don't know. It seems a little tight.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I get Sean's done more than me, but
it's a lot earlier than
it's gonna be pretty stressful.
Okay.
It can be done.
We could just approve the first council date and then table the rest of the council dates to have a discussion on later, if folks would like to do that. So we could approve January 16th as our first council date of the semester, and then have a conversation on that day about where we kind of see things going. Would that be looked favorably upon? Awesome. All right. Okay, we will make, if somebody would like to make a friendly amendment to this motion to just approve the first one. Awesome. Thank you, Mackenzie. All right. Then we will move into the motion. All right. I just got a little confused for a second there. LOL. Sorry, I lost my script. Yeah, so we're just approving the first council date. That'll be January 16th. We'll have a conversation on the rest later. That's our motion. Would someone like to make that motion? Thank you, Anna. Sorry. Can I get a second, please? Awesome. Thank you. Any more discussion at this time? All right. Would someone like to call the question? Thank you, Josh. All right, we'll move into voting. All those in favor? Jack, are you in favor? Okay. All those who would like to oppose? All those who would like to abstain? All right, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you, folks. Yeah, and we'll table the rest of that and have a discussion another time. All right, so this is kind of the last one. This is the heavy hitter of today. Thank you all for being so patient. Yeah, so the approval of the 2022 to the 2023 general election referenda. So that will be on what Nick has presented to us. The official wording of the question has been approved by the CRO prior. We also have our 4 signatories. Sorry, just making sure that this is all in accordance with the bylaws. We're going to have some discussion right now on whether or not you folks would like the referenda to pass by 50% plus 1 or 60% of voters. So if we kind of want to move into discussion there, I'm not sure if anybody has a strong opinion. Yeah, Hunter. Yeah, I think Sean can comment on that. Oh yeah, sorry, Drew, yes. Pardon? Unfortunately, we only have 2 options as delineated by the bylaws. Either it's 50% plus 1 or 60%. Yeah, unfortunately, we can't amend the bylaws to create that right now, so we have to pick between the 2. Yes, Sean?
50% plus 1 satisfies what we need to do with the legislation.
All right, thank you. Any more discussion at this time before we move into voting? All right.
Well, it kind of ties into voting.
Mm-hmm.
How many people can we get out to participate in the vote?
Mm-hmm.
Now, will they have to chance to abstain though on that one?
Yep.
Like, will it go yes, no, abstain?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, and that's kind of why we provided for a longer campaigning period. Is just we have those extra 3 days to make sure that we're like really covering all of our bases, as well as I think our polling period is 3 days as opposed to 2. Once again, to kind of cover all our bases, make sure that we're in the money. Yeah, good question. Any others?
I can just add on that.
Yeah.
I feel too, some people don't really understand the whole idea of abstentions because following my election, I talked to someone and I'm like, oh, like, you know, how did you find it? Was it engaging? like, I didn't see any posters though about it, but I voted for abstain. And that means like you didn't vote, but they still thought he was an actual individual person. So I just found the information on what true people, like, they didn't quite understand the whole idea of an abstention. Because they probably did not know lots of
We can have some explanation.
So I just, yeah, just for the engagement portion, which I would be happy to work with Nick about, just to make sure people know what they're voting for.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think specifically with Nick as official, like when Nick presents this referenda, he will be running as a candidate. And I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, I don't think you can actually work with him because you need to be nonpartisan on this issue as a counselor. You can vote in the election. However, I don't think you can actually work with Nick on it.
You as a member of council can help promote the vote.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's information coming out about what voting yes means, what voting, you can, that's completely within your purview to help spread the information. But working, yeah, or helping, like being co-captain of the referendum, yeah, that's something you can't do. No.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I appreciate the enthusiasm.
Yeah, we can definitely talk more about the knowledge translation side of the general election. That's something that's definitely like a big hill to climb. And we can kind of move into, it looks like we'll probably have some fumes in the upcoming year about, knowledge translation specifically around the general election. Any other questions, comments? Oh, yes. Okay, Nick Murray and then...
I could never possibly concede that someone would think abstain is the first. No, I had 3 different individuals come through that. Luckily, thank God here, the options are yes, no, or abstain. So I'm really hoping no one thinks abstain is the name on this, which wouldn't make any conceivable sense at all. No, I don't think we're really hoping not. Yes, that's right, that's right. Thank you for like bringing that up. It was just an issue. I had 3 people that approached me and asked to abstain. And 3 different people. Yeah, and I essentially it's just like you threw your vote away.
All right. Moving to Brendan's question then.
I'm just curious, with legislature, how much would they value, like, would they value 60% much more than 50%? Or
They just want to know that
Yeah.
students got to vote on it and it was hopefully passed by students.
Yeah, and I think,
Percentage wouldn't matter.
yeah, if utilizing first past the post, a win is 50% plus 1. So I think there is kind of that general understanding. Well, not general understanding, but I think there will be a level of understanding from the government that 50% plus 1 is majority, and technically a win. So, yeah, I don't think I can comment on my official stance, but that's my understanding of 50% plus 1. Any other questions, comments before we move into voting? Good questions, folks. I appreciate them. Thank you very much. Yeah, what's up? Yeah, I was kind of thinking, do we have to vote as one, or do we vote 1 and then 2?
You vote on the motion.
Yeah.
So the motion should include. Yeah, you might have to amend the motion. But
Okay. Yes, we could do that. The motion, as written on here, would be the approval of the 2021 Act of Incorporation for the Students' Union. That's the official wording that we've passed through the CRO. I think she would have to, we'd probably have to send her another official letter on the update of the amendment. So first we would have to vote on the amendment, and then we'd vote on the motion.
see that for a second.
Yes.
So we also have to make an amendment to the motion. We have to amend the motion to say that the new act, I'm not going to say it in the right words, so I'm just going to say what needs to happen. So basically, we're asking students to vote on removing the 1972 act and replacing it with the 2021 act.
Okay.
So that's what the motion has to say.
Okay, so we're going to do 2 motions, which we will vote on. The first is going to be to amend the wording of the motion to remove the 1972 Act of Incorporation and approve the 2021 Act of Incorporation for the Students' Union, replacing it with a 50% plus 1 referenda vote. So that's going to be the new official wording. Okay, we're going to move into voting on that. Sorry, that's a little confusing. Yeah, I know, it's good to make sure that we are doing all the right stuff. All right, so if somebody would like to make a motion to amend the motion. All right, thank you, Mackenzie. Can I get a second on that, please? Thank you very much. All right. Any more discussion at this time? Sorry, it's very confusing and bureaucratic. All right. Would an individual like to call the question? Thank you very much. And now we're going to vote on the amending of the wording of the motion and not the motion itself. All right. All those in favor, please raise your hands. All right. All those who would like to abstain? All those who would like to oppose? All right. Yes, the motion passes unanimously. And now we are going to vote on the motion as the new wording has provided it for, just so we're on the same page. All right, would someone like to someone like to motion to vote on? Yes, sorry, yeah. Yeah, I'm just going to write it down as well. Rebecca, do you have it written down?
No, I didn't know what you said.
Okay, all right. Let me put this down. So that's... It's okay. It's a lot of words.
I was gonna watch the recording.
Okay, so that would be the replacement of the 1972 Act of Incorporation with the 2021 Act of Incorporation.
I mean, it's, yeah, I mean, it was written in 2019, but it like got passed at the AGM in 2020, so I think we can just call it the 2021. That's when it's actually moving forward, so I think we're okay.
Can you do an online vote for that?
Sorry?
Can you do an online vote, like just yes, no, like you did earlier?
Online vote for who?
The amendments. No,
I think you're sending an email.
Oh, I think this is one you want to have on the, this is a biggie.
Yeah, sorry, are you asking to do, okay. Sorry, I'm just making sure I have this written down. Yes, of course, Papa. Sorry. Sorry about this, folks. Just want to make sure
We're counseling.
we have to make a note to come back and address it.
No, all I had was the removal and.
Okay, yep, perfect. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being so patient. Yeah, just wanting to make sure that we're covering all our bases there and doing this stuff right. So, that would be, we are voting on the motion of the removal and replacement of the 1972 Act of Incorporation with the 2021 Act of Incorporation with the 50% plus one council-initiated referenda. That is the official wording. All right. Would someone like to motion to approve the motion? Thank you, Hunter, and we'll get a second with Tiff. All right. Any more discussion at this time? Thank you. All right, no discussion. If someone would like to call the question, thank you, Drew. All right. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you very much. All those opposed? All those who would like to abstain? All right, the motion passes. Thank you, folks. Yeah. Now we just need to make sure the students are hype. Yes, and Nick, yes. Yep. Okay, just making sure. Okay, closing remarks of the chair. Where's my notes on this? Has anybody seen them? Who has my notebook? I need my notebook quickly. All right. Okay, some housekeeping. I'll do really quick. I'll send an email out about this too, just in case. Winter office hours, just something to begin to think about. I would like to have those in by January. That's a little bit of time to figure things out. January, second week of classes, probably a good time to have them solidified. Boom, boom, boom. Mid-year reports, bang. Society code checks, another boom. The general election is coming up. Any anybody in here is thinking of running, that's super sick. Please run if you would like to. I think it's awesome. We love the union. Live, laugh, love constantly. However, there are some stipulations that come with being somebody who currently holds a job at the union and running an election. Come talk to me. I'd love to help you navigate those and make sure that everybody is on the same page moving forward, because you don't want to get any violations during your election. So let's cover all our bases now and have a conversation. Nominations open on December 3rd. Super sick. That's coming up really soon. I'm excited. I know everybody else in here is excited. I've had a lot of coffee. Let's move into the adjournment if nobody has any comments. All right. Okay, Hicks has said the words motion to adjourn, so I'm going to give it to her. Sorry. Would you like to second it? Okay, all right. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting? Yay. Okay, all those opposed? Are you abstaining? Okay. Thank God. Okay. The meeting is over. Thank you folks so much.